Hello students, this is Mr. Boyd. In today's video, we're going to go over how to add and subtract polynomial expressions. So to begin with, we want to look at a review of the distributive property. And just to remind you guys, distributive property means that we're going to take the number outside the parentheses and distribute it or multiply it by everything inside the parentheses. So this would give us a result of A times B plus A times C. Or if it's a subtraction problem inside the parentheses, then it would be A times B minus A times C. Okay, so let's move along to our instructions. So if we're adding polynomials, the first thing we want to do is distribute any numbers in the problem because multiplication comes before addition. We want to follow our order of operations. Then we're going to drop the parentheses and add the like terms. Now just a quick review, like terms have the same variable and exponents. Okay? Or we can add them vertically, and I'll show you an example of that in the second problem. Okay, so to start with, we're going to distribute this 2 because we have to multiply first. Remember, parentheses, we can't do anything with these terms inside the parentheses because none of them are like terms. We can't add 5x squared and 8x because they're not like terms. So we can't do anything there. Exponents. Well, this x to the second power, we can't do anything with that to simplify it further. But we can multiply or divide from left to right. So let's start there. So 2 times 5 would give me 10x squared. 2 times 8 would give me a plus 16x. 2 times minus 10 would give me a minus 20. Now, because I'm adding and I don't need to distribute over here, I can simply drop my parentheses and add my like terms. So I'm going to just drop this parenthesis here. We're going to add negative 12. We're going to add a negative x. And we're going to add a 3x squared. And yes, you heard me call that a negative x because subtraction is adding the opposite. So that means that that minus sign also means that that is a negative x. The same thing is true over here with our minus 20. If we add the opposite, that's going to be a negative 20. Okay? So let's identify our like terms next. So first thing I notice is I have a 10x squared and a 3x squared. That's going to give me a total of 13x squared. Notice I don't add the exponents because I'm not multiplying like bases. Okay? Next, I see I have a 16x and a plus negative x. Okay, so if there's no number in front of that x, then that is a negative 1x. So 16 plus negative 1 would give me a 15x. Last but not least, we'll put our constants together. So we'll do a negative 20 plus a negative 12. And that's going to give us a result of negative. Notice I just write a minus sign for negative 32. Okay? All right, let's take a look at the second one. The second one I'm going to add vertically. And so what I mean by that is just like if you were adding 235 plus 172, you would line those terms up vertically so that your ones is lined up with your ones, your tens digits are lined up with your tens, and your hundreds are lined up, and then you would add it vertically. Okay? We're going to do the same thing here, except we're going to have to do some distribution first. So to start with, I'm going to multiply each of these terms by 2. So that's going to give me 16x plus 8 minus 18 x squared. Then I need to distribute these terms. So 3 times 9 is 27 x squared, and that's a positive 27, so I'm going to put a plus sign there. 3 times negative 10 is going to give me a negative 30, and 3 times negative 8 is going to give me a negative 24x. All right, the next thing I want to do is line up my terms vertically. So I see I have an x term here. I'm going to look in the second problem, find my x term, and I'm going to write that right below it. I'm going to line up those like terms. The next one I come to is my constant. The constant in the second polynomial was negative 30. So I'm going to line that up right below the constant in the first one. And the last one is the x squared term, so I'm going to line that up right below the 18x squared. Okay, now I've got my like terms lined up vertically, so I'm going to add 16 plus negative 24, or 16 minus 24, and that's going to give me a negative 8x. I'm going to add my 8 and negative 30, or 8 minus 30. That's going to give me a negative 22. And then last, I'm going to add my x squared terms. I've got a negative 18 plus 27, and that is going to give me a positive 9 x squares. Okay? Now the last step that I need to do is put this thing in standard form. And standard form is descending degree order. So the x squared term is a degree 2, so I need to do a 9x squared first. The x term is a first degree, so I'm going to do minus 8x, and then finish up with minus 22. And so you'll see that the degrees are 2, 1, and 0. Okay? All right, I'd like for you to pause the video now and try the next two problems. When you're finished, hit play, and we'll see how you did. All right, guys. So I went ahead and worked those two out for you, and so you can check your answer and see how you did. All right, let's move on down to subtracting polynomials. So this time, with subtraction, notice right here in the middle, we're subtracting this entire second polynomial. So what we need to do is either A, distribute that minus sign to each one, or think of it as adding the opposite again. So watch carefully what I do. When I add the opposite, I'm going to change this minus sign to a plus sign. I'm going to change the positive 12 to a negative 12, the minus 6 or the negative 6 to a plus 6, and the minus 3 to a plus 3. And then again, I'm going to combine my like terms. So I've got a 9x squared plus a negative 12x squared. That's going to give me a negative 3x squared. Notice I started with the squared terms too, because that's going to automatically put my polynomial in standard form. I'm going to start with the highest degree terms and then work down, unlike I did in the earlier problems. So let's see, now I'm going to do a negative 4x and a plus 6x, and that's going to give me a plus 2x. And then last, I'm going to take a look at my plus 8 and my plus 3 and combine those. 8 plus 3 is 11. And there's my answer in standard form. Okay? Moving on to example number 6. First, I need to distribute this negative 2. And yes, this is a negative 2. Don't forget, subtraction is adding the opposite. So, first thing I'm going to do is distribute here, and then distribute here. So that's going to give me a negative 16, a negative 10x, and a positive negative 2 times negative 3. It's going to give me a positive 6x to the third. Now this first expression, I'm just going to bring it down on the same line as the other one so that I can add my like terms together. All right, let's identify our like terms. So I've got an x and a minus 10x. I've got a minus 2x to the third and a plus 6x to the third. I've got an 8 and a minus 16, or a negative 16. And then I have this negative 7x squared, and there's nothing to combine it with or add it to. So I'm just going to leave that one white. All right, so I'm going to start with my highest degree term. That's my degree 3 here, my power of 3. So negative 2 plus 6 is going to give me a 4x to the third. Next, I'm going to move on to my squared term, or power of 2. There's nothing to combine that with, so I'll just copy that down. Okay, so I've done my cube terms, I've done my squared terms. Now I'm going to do my x's. So I've got a 1x plus a negative 10x for a negative 9x. Notice this thing's working out in standard form as I work through it. And then the last two that I'll do is my two constants. 8 minus 16 is going to give me a negative 8. All right, guys. So I'd like for you to pause the video and try the last two problems on your own, and then click play and check and see how you do. All right, guys, so here are the answers and the way I worked the last two problems. Notice that the number 7, example number 7, I distributed the minus sign, and then I lined up my terms vertically and added vertically. And then on number 8, I distributed the negative 3, identified my like terms, and added my like terms. Either method works, guys. You decide which works best for you. Thanks for watching today's video. If you like today's video, as always, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and you can receive other algebra videos. Have a great day.